What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including MJF removed from AEW's roster, what WWE higher-ups really think of Stephanie McMahon, AEW star Brian Pillman Jr.'s mother passes away, Jeff Hardy was literally out of it for Double or Nothing, a Raw superstar moved back to SmackDown, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into our first story. Our first story looks at more MJF news. Now, AEW continues to push its work shoot of MJF wanting out of AEW and complaining about how he's so underpaid, so AEW president Tony Khan can bring in endless numbers of ex-WWE guys. While it's unknown whether MJF and Tony Khan have resolved MJF's reported request for a raise in salary, AEW is pushing the storyline of MJF having legitimate heat with the company. So did Tony Khan delete MJF? Well, one way AEW has distanced itself from MJF or taken steps to appear so is by removing MJF's profile from AllEliteWrestling.com's official roster. The second is by removing MJF's merchandise from ShowAEW.com. Interestingly, the site has a listing for alumni which includes Brandy Rhodes and Cody Rhodes, but not MJF. There's little question MJF's absence is a work, but that isn't stopping AEW from doing its best to make it look legitimate. Hopefully AEW won't deprive MJF of his merchandise for long. Next up, MJF's work shoot causing backstage heat. AEW's use of a work shoot involving MJF has many fans and wrestlers talking, but according to Dave Meltzer, not everyone at AEW likes the idea. Some just played it off like it's wrestling and whatever, but others weren't so happy about it. One noted being very unhappy about it, believing that playing games with talent and keeping executives in the dark on key issues was something that they hoped this company would never do, and one called it a sloppy work that in the long run will benefit nobody. What do you think of AEW doing a work shoot? Is it even possible to do something like this in light of how smart and fans have become? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, what WWE higher-ups really think of Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie McMahon's recent announcement that she was stepping down from her role as the WWE's chief brand officer is still being analysed as fans and pundits alike speculate whether Stephanie's decision was caused by something other than a stated reason of wanting to focus on her family. Dave Meltzer provided more details in the latest Observer on Stephanie's exit, as well as what to expect if and when she returns. The situation with Stephanie McMahon being gone has been surprising. As noted, she's not expected back anytime soon, so they are hiring people for her chief brand officer position and the roles she formerly had with the company. She's still on the board of directors. As noted last week, the belief is that if and when she comes back, it would be in a different role. Stephanie returning in a different capacity raises a number of questions about both her departure and her future. You may recall that her husband Triple H returned to WWE recently after a lengthy health-related hiatus, and there's been talk that his role is different than it was when he left. What might have motivated the WWE to do the same with Stephanie? In her case, it's a case of the WWE not knowing how long she'll be out and wanting to keep her role active. Could it be that they want someone else in the role to conform to a potential new vision for WWE? Does Stephanie want to tackle a new challenge when she returns? After all, she's worked several years as a head of WWE's writing team before transitioning to chief brand officer. One aspect of Meltzer's report suggests Stephanie's exit may have been met with relief. According to Dave Meltzer, what was notable is last week when we mentioned some people talking bad about her on the way out, but that one person noted nobody would do so publicly because it would be career suicide. However, the people who did try and get this talk about while remaining anonymous are key high-level people who are the last people I'd expect to do so. Now, I know the situation is open for wild speculation, but the adage where there's smoke there's fire seems to apply here, as there appears to be more to Stephanie's departure than meets the eye. As mentioned in past discussions about Stephanie stepping down, it could prove difficult to get any conclusive answers, but we'll continue monitoring the story. Next up, CM Punk and FTR's faction official. It's official, CM Punk and FTR are now the latest faction in AEW, and they've even come up with a name for their group. Current AEW World Heavyweight Champion tweeted a picture of himself and FTR with this caption: "One day I rode my Schwinn bike to dirt hills I used to jump and ride when I was a kid. When I got there were two kids on their BMX bikes. They told me to leave. I didn't. We scrapped. Black eyes, bloody lips. Next day and the whole summer we rode bikes together. CM FTR." As Ringside News noted, Punk has recently expressed his goal of winning a trios title along with FTR. While AEW hasn't officially announced such a title, rumor has it that an announcement about the belt is only a matter of time. What do you think of the faction name? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Brian Pillman Jr.'s mother passes away. Sad news to report as AEW star Brian Pillman Jr. has revealed that his mother Melanie Pillman has recently passed away. He took to social media to inform the fans that his mother Melanie had died, tweeting, "Thank you, Mum, for bringing me into this world and trying your best. You were my #1 fan. Rest in peace, I love you." Our wrestling fans may remember Melanie was involved in the infamous Austin's Got a Gun angle on Raw during the Attitude Era, as well as the disgusting segment on Raw after her husband Brian Pillman's death when Vince McMahon interviewed her in what some fans saw as sheer exploitation. Pillman Jr. also shared a tender message on his Instagram page, an excerpt which follows. "Those of you who know our family story understand that I didn't have the best relationship with my mother, though my sister and I recently have been in touch with her working to improve that relationship. While I didn't spend too much time with her, she will always tune into my Twitch streams and interact with my fans, oftentimes sharing with them old stories about my father and the wrestling business." We send our heartfelt condolences to Brian Pillman Jr., the Pillman family, and their many friends. Next up, Matt Hardy defends Jeff's Double or Nothing performance. Fans who think Jeff may have been in no condition to perform at Double or Nothing's Hardys vs Young Bucks match may want to hear Matt Hardy's take on things, as Matt recently discussed the match during his podcast, revealing, "I was happy with the match, especially considering very early in the match Jeff was almost knocked out. He got hurt pretty bad, that's why he's being pulled from the match in LA obviously." Matt explained how Jeff was operating what sounded like autopilot. He doesn't remember the match at all after that happened. He was literally a vessel being given directions throughout this match to do what it was supposed to do. So considering he really got knocked loopy terribly at some point early in the match, he still did pretty well to go through and do everything he did. He also discussed Jeff's troubles with one of his wrestling boots. He has boots that buckle up and one of his buckles snapped and broke, so he had a pretty rough, hard night. Adam Cole also got injured as well during his match. Next up, more evidence that the brand split is unofficially finished. Now, is the brand split over? Well, we reported that there's no sign of the WWE officially ending the brand split, but the idea of two rosters staying apart seems to be over. The ever-reliable WrestleVotes tweeted, "The lack of SmackDown matches currently advertised for this week's Hell in a Cell event speaks volumes. It's an indictment on the roster," a source says. While the brand split isn't ending, for all intents purposes, it's shot. Now, if you've seen the Hell in a Cell card, you know that every one of the 6 scheduled matches features Raw wrestlers, a situation that has led some fans joking that this is a Raw exclusive event, much like when they tried to run brand split events during the first brand split. Meltzer also discussed how Raw and SmackDown's diminished roster makes it more practical to have wrestlers crossing over onto opposite brands. Even though the company is filled with talented guys with them focusing on seemingly fewer and fewer people, there's more and more Raw SmackDown crossover. The brand split from an official standpoint is not ending, but obviously SmackDown talent will be appearing on Raw and the other way around all the time, with no silly explanations anymore. Now, in our opinion, the WWE is still trying to piece everything together as it relates to its part-time Undisputed World Champion and Undisputed Tag Team Champions. This includes which show they'll appear on and how often they'll defend their respective titles. And finally, a Raw superstar moves back to SmackDown. Did the WWE secretly begin the 2022 draft? How else to explain Lacey Evans moving from SmackDown to Raw, only to be moved back to SmackDown again? PW Insider's Mike Johnson was reporting, Lacey Evans was shifted back to the SmackDown roster over the last 48 hours. Confused? You're not the only one, as WWE ran a series of vignettes highlighting how Evans overcame adversity during her rise to becoming a superstar. The vignette strongly suggested Evans was going to play a babyface, but WWE started dropping hints that she was actually a heel, with Evans telling an announcer to have the fans pay her proper respect. If that wasn't enough for the WWE Universe, Evans appeared on Raw with no reason given for her move. Let's hope the WWE has an idea of how it wants to book Evans now that she's returned to the blue brand. But there you have it, folks, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.